When men speak about their negative experiences with women, they often say something like, "If all you keep attracting is the worst of women, that says much more about you than anything else." However, if the gender is flipped, they rarely acknowledge that they are the common denominator. It's often just all men are bad, and many continue to encourage that perspective. Story 1. Women-focused online spaces emphasize sisterhood, supporting one another, and validating choices above all else. If they wanted to be criticized for their decisions, they would talk to their mothers. Story 2. Which one? The scenario that really annoys me is, an abusive boyfriend demands his girlfriend show him her phone to check if she is cheating, without any clear evidence as to why he should suspect her. He starts telling her who she can and cannot see and insists she cannot talk to any other man. This behavior is described as him being an abusive, controlling monster, and I would agree. On the other hand, when an abusive girlfriend demands her boyfriend show her his phone to see if he is cheating, again without any clear evidence, she begins to control who he can see and insists he cannot talk to any other woman. In this case, some people question what the man did to make her feel that way and suggest that if he has nothing to hide, he should have no issue showing her his phone. Somehow it seems acceptable to control, manipulate, and emotionally abuse a boyfriend to some people. Story 3. The worst I have seen here was a month ago when a father who works away from home was getting blamed and insulted for his wife's brutal abuse of their 4 very young children. He wanted to fix the problem, but the online community deemed him guilty, while his wife was considered innocent. I understand that the platform can be heavily biased, but that post really disgusted me. The father needs to provide for his family. The wife does not need to abuse their children because she feels stressed or lonely. Story 4. The subset of women involved in this situation is finding satisfaction in being able to assert power over men beneath them, as they feel they cannot challenge those above them. This mirrors the historical context in which the Irish, once at the bottom of the English Empire, came to America and discovered the opportunity to exert dominance over another group, in this case, Black individuals. Story 5. If all you keep attracting is the worst of women, that says much more about you than anything else. I didn't realize I could choose most of the abusive women I've encountered since I could speak, such as teachers and family members. However, there is definitely a double standard when it comes to men sharing their life experiences, as we are expected to simply cope. Story 6. Well, there are unpleasant individuals of all genders in the world. There are also many men who ask, "What were you wearing?" The most problematic people often make the most noise. That being said, both men and women may attract negativity. If you find yourself surrounded by negativity, consider reflecting on your own behavior. It is important to remember that abusers can identify those who are vulnerable, so seeking therapy is a crucial second step in addressing these issues. Story 7. I think the reason is that men typically are the ones who pursue women, so when a man ends up with someone problematic, it's his fault for pursuing that person. If a woman ends up with a disrespectful person, it's often because the man persuaded her with his lies and tricks. That said, if you continuously find yourself with challenging people, it might be a good idea to figure out why, regardless of whether you are a man or a woman. Story 8. The same idea applies when women are caught cheating. It's never their fault. The man did or failed to do something that forced her to cheat. Does that excuse ever apply when men cheat? Of course not. That would be misogyny. Story 9. They mistake the group of men who will sleep with them for the group of men who will date them and get upset when the two aren't the same. Summary. Know your group and act accordingly. Story 10. Because they are women, they filter everything through their feelings. Because they are women, it is much easier for them to get affection from attractive men than it is for men to get affection from any women, much less attractive ones. Women are accustomed to getting their own way and having what they want when they want it. Men usually do not tell women the truth about how they act or present themselves because they seek romantic involvement. Women typically do not tell other women the truth about their behavior or presentation, as doing so could lead to social repercussions and lower their status within the group. Women are used to having others smooth the path for them, making everything easier. Women often do not understand the impact of their actions on men and how they can affect men's emotions. Story 11. Even worse, the double standard really cuts the other way. Women generally select from a smaller group of men, meaning when they say all men are bad, they have actually had experiences with a smaller subset of men than the men have had with women. Story 12. Because modern feminism is not about equalizing the sexes. It is about giving women the most freedoms while taking away their responsibilities. Story 13. I understand your point, and there is some truth to it. Some men are asking women to suppress their desire to seek out the most desirable partners, often referred to as chads, in order to find stability and normalcy. If we were to apply the same standard to men, it would mean asking them to consider relationships with less conventionally attractive women if they are seeking stability and less promiscuity. Story 14. Double standards are the only standards they have. Keep in mind that they do not want an honest discussion or to share ideas, but rather to win arguments. Story 15. I have personally never heard that directed toward men in ways that aren't directed toward women. In fact, quite the contrary. I once searched for, why do I keep dating people with commitment issues? And all the results were directed squarely at women, offering the same oversimplified victim-blaming explanation. You have commitment issues, so you seek out avoidant men to avoid being the one who pulls away. However, in interpersonal relationships of all kinds, I hear what you're describing about people of any gender frequently, and I believe it is not always off base. There is an old saying that goes, if you meet an unpleasant person one day, you met an unpleasant person. If you meet an unpleasant person every day, you are the unpleasant person. I will admit, I know some people that this describes quite well. Story 16. When men speak about their negative experiences with women, they often say something like, if you keep attracting the worst types of women, that says more about you than anything else. This is strange because in my 40+ years of life, I have never heard this said about men. I have never heard someone tell a man, you keep going for the same types of women in my friend circle or even online, and it being correlated to a specific problem or a certain type of personality in women. However, I have frequently observed this pattern among women, and I would say it's the majority, not the minority of women. I see it in my friend circles all the time. They will point out or introduce you to some guy they're interested in, and you quickly get the sense that he has the same negative characteristics, whether it's being self-centered, likely abusive, or treating others poorly. Men can pick up on this very quickly. Women always say they look for certain qualities in a man, often leaving out is tall, is good-looking, or is athletic. They may even insist they are not attracted to the attributes the person clearly has, and yet you can see the pattern in the type of men they are drawn to. Despite getting a sense that this guy is not a good person, they will ignore those feelings. It certainly reflects a lot about the women who continue to choose these men, and they will invariably insist that you are wrong. Yet, I have never heard a man facing this same issue or being told this once. Story 17. It's always that all men are bad, and many of you keep encouraging that idea. That's not my experience here in this community. Story 18. Our modern leftist culture expressly permits bigotry against groups deemed privileged, such as men and white individuals. There are intentional, institutional, and permanent double standards and hypocrisy. That is all there is to it. Story 19. It's often stated that all men are bad, and many continue to support this idea. It is difficult to provide a meaningful response when you start from the belief that anything is always true. I observe many individuals receiving the same advice. If you keep dating unsuitable people, it might be time to reflect on yourself more deeply. This applies to everyone, regardless of gender, in the relationships in question. No one wants to acknowledge that they are the common factor. This is not just a double standard. It's a basic human trait. We often struggle to accept responsibility for our situations, especially when it contradicts our understanding of the world. No matter who you are or where you are, if you keep experiencing similar negative interactions with people, whether in dating, work, family, or friendships, you need to understand your role in that situation, or it will continue to happen. Story 20. Not at all. When women complain about ending up with bad partners, I often see people respond with, you need to examine what kind of partners you are attracted to, or where and how you meet them. Story 21. Funny thing, I read another thread where a woman was complaining about how she has been abused by men all the time. Someone mentioned that she is attracting the wrong kind of men, but they never received any criticism for it. Story 22. I believe this applies to both men and women. You may encounter discussions about victim blaming for either gender, but there is a distinction between a single incident and a pattern of behavior. People will treat you according to how you allow yourself to be treated. Story 23. You are doing the exact same thing you are accusing all women of. The lack of perspective is truly baffling. Story 24. Two different groups of people. If you hear this from women, of course, it is not the woman's fault. Depending on the subgroup you are in, you see the same thing communicated to both men and women. Story 25. It is usually a projection of their past, whether it be an abusive ex or father, which leads them to develop disdain towards all men in general. This is an extremely toxic way of thinking that can result in a dark path. Not everyone is a toxic individual who abuses women and treats them poorly. Story 26. I was in 7th grade when some girls called me a pedophile, and the school did nothing about it. However, when I called them a whore, it suddenly became a big deal. They told everyone I was a pedophile, which completely destroyed my reputation at the school and made it extremely hard for me to make friends. The school was aware of the situation but didn't take any action. The girls did not receive suspension, detention, or any consequences. I only received a warning. It seems that girls can talk much more freely than boys. When I speak at the same tone and volume, I get in trouble, while they do not, even when we are in the same class on the same day. Story 27. First time? I always comment on the fact that I am waiting for feminists to prove us wrong. They have yet to do so. Story 28. I have shared this with many women. People often tend to reenact their traumas. If you have abandonment issues, you may choose emotionally unavailable partners. If you are deeply insecure, you may attract narcissists. If you have experienced abuse, you may find yourself with people who do not respect boundaries. In face-to-face conversations, this is usually met with acknowledgement, often followed by, "You might be right." However, when I share this with women online, it is frequently met with complete dismissal or even anger. The internet tends to attract those who seek intimate advice from strangers, which may not reflect the most stable and reasonable individuals. Story 29. Just look at what they did to Will Smith. Some women may care about men's health, but many do not. Story 30. Hard times create strong individuals create easy times create weak individuals, and weak individuals create hard times, and so on. Men today may not embody the strength and qualities of those from the past. While some individuals strive to improve, many cannot even be recognized as true men. Story 31. The way you put it, they have a point. A woman being attracted to certain men who turn out to be unpleasant is not her fault. It's because a woman literally does not see the men she is not attracted to. She does not even notice they exist, even though they are the vast majority of men. So when a woman says she is attracted to loyalty, she means she wishes the men she is attracted to would choose to be loyal to her, but then he isn't because he has many options. Men, on the other hand, often settle for whatever comes their way even if they see the red flags. They might think, well, there are a lot of good characteristics about her still. They are not consciously choosing challenging partners. If given the choice, a man would most likely choose a reasonably attractive woman with a clear mind and good nurturing abilities. Story 32. Jesus Christ, reading all these comments. Tell me you hate women without saying it directly. Story 33. To be fair, the opposite happens daily. A girl complains about bad experiences with men. The replies, "It sounds like you keep choosing the wrong men. That seems like a personal issue." Women often avoid accountability. People with egos and hurt feelings tend to lash out and ignore others' feelings when they feel threatened. Story 34. Many men dislike women for various reasons. Many women dislike men for various reasons. It confuses me why either group would concern themselves with the thoughts and opinions of the other. Story 35. If all the comments you remember seeing are men accepting their responsibility and women rejecting it, that reflects more about you than anything else. Story 36. I don't understand the question. Are you asking why men view their physical appearance as a problem and work to change it, while women often blame men? If that is your question, ask women. We don't know. Regarding the notion that all men are bad, that is not true. Some individuals are inconsiderate and indifferent. The rest of us focus on our own lives and strive to be decent people. This was posed as a question, but it feels more like you want a confrontation. The way you phrased it does not encourage a constructive conversation. Please do better. Story 37. These posts and comments are always surprising to me. I know and talk to many women. I am a woman. The women and so-called feminists you often mention, where are they? Where are the women who demand to be treated like princesses? In my 33 years of life, I have only known one or two like that. Most women I know want a good man that they can treat well. A good man. If you are only dating these types of women, that is entirely on you. You can usually tell what they are like after just one conversation. I hesitate to say this, but I am fairly attractive and know many gorgeous women who are sweethearts and treat their partners like kings. I treat my husband like a king. It seems that many of the men in these posts genuinely dislike women and do not know any real ones. There is no double standard. Just talk to an actual woman who is genuine and not using a dating app. Have some confidence, stand up for yourself, and do not continue seeing someone just because you are attracted to her. Then complain that she is mean and selfish. Story 38. At least half of all adult men are significantly underdeveloped and not socialized. They also lack basic day-to-day skills. This percentage varies depending on the country and is much higher in the developing world. I would hate to be a woman as they may face long and lonely lives or become dog mothers. Story 39. I don't think this is a real phenomenon. I've seen women told they are the problem when they complain that their relationships fail consistently, just as I've seen men told they are the issue as well. The common rule for both genders is that people often side with the individual sharing their experience, which happens only a minority of the time in either case. Story 40. Welcome to adulthood. You will realize that marriage was invented to help women more than men. When you are young, you may not understand this, but as an adult, you will find that you are only as good as your last paycheck. You may also be treated negatively by your wife if you earn less than in your previous job or if you become sick. Suddenly, she may start treating you differently. Be aware of gossip. She may talk excessively with other women, and as she gets older, this behavior may intensify. It is said that a woman cannot keep a secret for more than 47 hours, and I now believe this as an adult. Story 41. You are not incorrect to say men are treated poorly. Do we deserve to be treated better? We do. We achieve this by expressing our needs and feelings and by supporting one another. Anyone who wants to talk or express their frustrations about gender double standards is welcome to reach out. It's not as if I don't experience it too. I imagine this situation arises because the severity of experiences differs. On average, negative experiences for a man at the hands of a woman include rejection or ridicule. In contrast, women face physical attacks and sexual violence. Approximately 41% of women compared to 26% of men reported having experienced, at some point in their lives, contact sexual violence, physical violence, and/or stalking by an intimate partner that resulted in intimate partner violence-related impacts, such as injury, safety concerns, the need for housing or legal services, or help from law enforcement. 1 in 3 women versus 1 in 6 men reported being a victim of stalking in their lifetimes. Keep in mind that generalizations like yours harm everyone. Do not act misogynistic just because you have been wronged. You, I, and every other man deserves to be treated with decency and respect, but we do not achieve that by lashing out. Story 42. As a guy, I never really hear comments about men like, should have picked a better woman. Not even from women. Sure, women may not want to hear that they, as a general group, only seek the top 5% of men, but I hear it all the time. Story 43. I believe some women are unaware of whom they attract based on their insecurities and personal issues. However, the notion that all men are bad stems from numerous stories of men cheating on and abusing women. The statistics show that women experiencing abuse significantly outnumber men, primarily due to a power imbalance. Thanks a bunch for sticking around till the end of the video. Remember to subscribe, and until next time, stay awesome and goodbye.